You know, trying to keep up with everything happening in the South Bay can feel like trying to drink from a fire hose, right? I mean, between new businesses, community events, and city council meetings, it's just a constant flood of information. So, how do you actually find the stories that matter to you?
I mean, seriously, just in the last 36 hours, there was this whirlwind of activity all across the region. And it raises a really big question. In that constant stream of news, how do we make sure the important stuff actually connects with people in the community?
Okay, so here's how we're going to break down that crazy 36-hour news cycle. We'll look at the pulse of community events, some new leadership, big infrastructure news, and local government moves. And then we'll talk about how to turn all those announcements into stories people actually care about.
So first up, let's just take a second to appreciate the sheer pace of things around here. The last day and a half was a perfect snapshot of just how vibrant our local communities really are.
Just look at this lineup from our local chambers of commerce. You had the Torrance area chamber celebrating its 25th annual Black History celebration. Awesome. San Pedro was welcoming new members. And at the same time, Redondo Beach, Wilmington, and Manhattan Beach were all holding these critical meetings on everything from economic development to getting ready for huge events. It was absolutely nonstop.
But here's the thing, right? If you weren't actually there, you probably just saw a calendar notification or maybe a quick post online. So how do we bottle up the energy and the importance of these moments and share it with everybody else?
And this is exactly where we can get a whole lot smarter about how we communicate. Imagine taking that incredible celebration at the Torrance Chamber and turning it into a dynamic 30-second highlight reel. All of a sudden, an event that a few hundred people saw becomes a shareable story that reaches thousands. That's how you amplify community pride.
And you know, this whole idea of amplifying stories, it's not just for events. Let's take a look at leadership changes, because in that same 36-hour window, a really key appointment was made that's going to help shape the South Bay's economy.
So, on February 23rd, the global real estate giant CBRE announced that Patrick McGrath is taking the helm of its entire South Bay office. Now, this is a pretty big deal. He's the one who will be steering the strategy for our most important innovation hubs.
Okay, a press release is fine. But what if instead of just reading that, you saw a 30-second Meet the Leader clip? A short video where Mr. McGrath just talks to you, sharing his vision for the region. It becomes personal, it becomes human, and it becomes way more memorable.
All right, so moving from individual companies to the big picture. The last 36 hours also brought news about these massive projects that are designed to connect and strengthen the entire South Bay region.
The big news was the announcement for the I-40 Trade Port Corridor launch. What does that even mean? Well, it's this huge initiative all about making the flow of goods from the Port of LA to logistics hubs all over the Southwest way more efficient. It's a massive undertaking.
And this is what I love. It takes this huge, complex logistics project and boils it down to 3 simple steps. Goods show up at the port, they get moved along the I-40 corridor, and then they're distributed. Boom. Simple, clear, and anyone can get it.
But why stop there, right? The real opportunity is to create a quick, educational teaser video that breaks down what this whole corridor thing means for a local business right here. How does it create jobs? How does it help a small shop in Torrance? That's how you make massive infrastructure feel personal and local.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about local government. You know, where decisions get made that have a huge impact on our day-to-day lives, but sometimes the whole process can feel a little hard to follow.
So, over in Redondo Beach, the City Council was dealing with 2 totally different but super important local issues. First, the future of the North Redondo Bikeway extension, and second, a temporary ban on new smoke shops. Both of these directly affect the neighborhood.
And this is a perfect example of how we can demystify that government speak. You see a term like urgency moratorium and your eyes might just glaze over, but really, it's just a pause button. It gives the city time to figure things out. Simple explanations like this make local politics so much easier to grasp.
And that brings up a really fundamental question for anyone in local government. How do you make a decision feel less like you're just handing down a ruling from on high and more like you're starting a conversation with the community?
And the answer really is simple. Create these little micro-explainers. Just imagine a 1-minute video about that bikeway extension, showing where it's going to go, who it helps, what the timeline looks like. You're transforming a dense agenda item into a clear, simple story about making the community better.
All right, so we've looked at community events, big business moves, huge infrastructure projects, and local politics. Let's tie this all together and look at what this all means for the future of communication around here.
Because really, this is the shift we're talking about. We're moving away from the old way, the text-heavy press release that gets totally lost in your inbox. We're moving toward creating these amplified stories. They're visual, they're shareable, and they actually build a real connection.
And these right here, these are the tools to get it done. Quick highlight reels for events, meet the leader snippets, little educational teasers for big projects, and micro-explainers for city council decisions. Each one of these takes a standard announcement and turns it into something people actually want to watch and share.
So that really leaves us with one final thought. In a place as busy and as exciting as the South Bay, there's always another important story happening just around the corner. The real opportunity isn't just in making an announcement, it's in finding the best way to tell that story. So what's the next story our community really needs to hear?